Well, hello, YouTube. We're back for another session on The Science is a New Religion script. Today on this beautiful Sabbath, October, it's the 16th of October, that is, 2021, and I'm joined here with Michael in Germany, and he has put together a new script for us today called The Age of Enlightenment, or the Scientific Revolution. Welcome, Michael.
Yeah, hello, Brad. Hello, dear listeners. Thanks for having me again, bearing with me with this session 57. My. Yeah, I have estimated that we need 100 sessions, and I think that will be, around that much. Yeah, but I hope that will be for some interest and of some value, that you have some things to think about it. This is called the Age of Enlightenment, or the Scientific Revolution. Revolution. Where did the first revolution took place? That was in heaven. And after we had the revolution in heaven, then we had the revolution in the Garden of Eden. When Eve said, no, don't follow the path of the Almighty Lord. I just want to be like gods and taste of the forbidden fruit. And then there came one revolution after the other. For example, there came an astronomical revolution, officially by Copernicus. That was also a revolution. And now comes the complete revolution. This is the scientific revolution. So the scientists are now taking over. Taking over from whom? On the outside, it seems they are taking over the education from the so-called clergy, or from the church. Because we are now in the age of the 17th century, which means all the big astronomers had their promotion, except Tycho Brahe, of the heliocentric system. So that means that the Earth is not that important anymore. It's just one of many planets. This is a theory. And on the other hand, it's the thing that the Counter-Reformation started, which means that it's not the Bible alone, but it's also tradition and catechism and science and politics and everything else which comes into your mind, except please do not read the Bible, because the Bible is the integral and main part of the Reformation. Sola scriptura means scripture alone. And so if you got a Counter-Reformation, they will say everything but the scripture.
Of course.
Everything but the scripture. So politics, entertainment, folklore, tradition, catechism, science, sports, entertainment, branches, what else? Philosophy, everything else. Keep you busy. Make it big in this world. So this is the Age of Enlightenment, or the scientific revolution. When we know that it's a scientific revolution in a satanic world that we are living in, and in an age of enlightenment in a satanic world we are living in, that means that it's the age of a satanic enlightenment. That's quite logical, I say. That means that it's not in the biblical sense or in the Christian sense, it's not the age of enlightenment, but the age of darkness. Let's look it up. We got a prominent example. First of all, let me introduce you to a very nice picture. This is a comic for you. This is a so-called Christian Science monitor from Mr. Bennett, who is of course being accused of being a right-wing, etc., etc. These are two different movies running. First of all, on the left side is a theater for an inconvenient truth. And on the right side, where the majority of people are walking on the Broadway, is a reassuring lie, or repeating lie, over and over and over again. Yeah, the Earth is just a planet, the Earth is just a planet, the planet is just the Earth, the planet calls the Earth is a planet, blah, 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 blah. Thousands of times heard from thousands of textbooks, and you will believe it, because everybody says it. Yeah, everybody will tell you that the sun is green. You would believe it too. If everybody out there is telling you that the sun is green, and you're the only person in the entire world or in your entire neighborhood who claims that the sun is yellow, you will not state it officially, because then you will be the enemy of everybody in your neighborhood. You see how easy it is when you got the majority of people in a certain spirit, how easy it is to spread all the lies because the people intend to believe it, because everybody is not looking up for the truth, but everybody is looking, oh, what does my neighbor say? What does my neighbor think? Oh, what does my friend say? Oh, what does my girlfriend mean? Etc. They don't care for the truth. This is a Christian Science monitor. And there is nobody in the theater who's playing a movie with the inconvenient truth. It's like the number of hits on our channels when we are promoting some videos about science as a new religion. It's on the left side, nobody comes, or a few people. Yeah, you see the woman here, desperate woman here looking for some visitors. And on the right side, when we would make videos about, yeah, Lady Gaga showing off topless and everything else, that people would buy a ticket, would say, yeah, subscribe to your channel. Oh, great. Sorry, a little bit exaggerating here, maybe, but you see right. that's the world we are living in. If you look up the YouTube videos, I did a research on the YouTube videos with the most hits, and they're all songs. Nobody cares for truth or something else. It's all la 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 la. Yeah? Fancy girls, flashy cars, la la la. Yeah, that's our world. That's the superficial world we are living in. And people are happy. I don't know if it's not my origin, but somebody came up with the quote, the greatest enemy of truth are happy slaves. Yeah, something like this. Yeah, really, the people that try to, oh, we have a happy life. Yeah, we have something to eat and to drink, and don't engage in anything else. No?
Yeah, bread and circuses, Michael.
Yeah. So this is science. This is the Christian Science monitor. It's very fitting, I think. So what is the Age of Enlightenment? Wikipedia tells us the Age of Enlightenment is also known as the Age of Reason, or simply the Enlightenment. I said, oh no, not the Age of Reason. This, once again, is the inscription in English on the Georgia Guidestones. Yeah, there's also reason behind it, and also it means here, rule passion, faith, tradition, and all things with tempered reason. And we know that there was some severe Thomas Paine with the Age of Reason. Huh? I have not done it yet because it's not the right timeline to do so. And I know it's not the right timeline also to promote here the Georgia Guidestones, which I don't know, which I don't do. Yeah, but yeah, you see that it's just nothing to do here with love, the so-called 10 commandments of the present time. You know, it's just a restricted amount of people allowed, and production is wisely, not with love, but somebody decides about fitness and diversity and all the things. Yeah. So it is not more than just a kind of an Age of Reason. And you see, the Age of Reason is the same described here in Wikipedia as the Age of Enlightenment. Yeah. Enlightenment. Yeah, we know what enlightenment means. Huh? That means usually Lucifer, Luciferianism. And scientists mostly are Luciferianisms. They believe that they are kind of gods because they have the knowledge, and all the other people are simply sheeps. That's my result of it. Enlightenment philosophers chose a short history of scientific predecessors, Galileo, yeah, last session, Boyle, and Newton principally, as the guides and guarantors of their applications of the singular concept of nature and natural law. So please exclude God. Yeah, it's always excluding God, natural law, to every physical and social field of the day. In this respect, the lessons of history and the social structures built upon it could be discarded. In this respect, the lessons of history and the social structures built upon it could be discarded. Yeah, and that's it. And that is also the work of Mr. Isaac Newton, which we soon will meet. Now, Voltaire also had Jesuitical ties, we know that. Newton himself often told the story that he was inspired to formulate his theory of gravitation, means that objects have some effect on one another, By watching the fall of an apple from a tree, the story is believed to have passed into popular knowledge after being related to Catherine Barton. Newton's niece to Voltaire. Ah, some Jesuitical ties here once again. Interesting. Voltaire then wrote in his essay on epic poetry, Sir Isaac Newton walking in his gardens had the first thought of his system of gravitation upon seeing an apple falling from a tree. That's very profound. An apple falling from a tree. Although it has been said that the apple story is a myth and that he did not arrive at his theory of gravity at any single moment. Yeah, so we do not know if it's correct or not, but Voltaire wrote it down in his essay. Okay, so Voltaire has been Jesuitically controlled. So you make your mind up if that is the truth or not, if it has something to do with gravity. Yeah, so this is about here, the gravity started with an apple incident. Three apples changed the world. This is not my quote. I'm just showing it. What seduced Adam? What woke Newton? And what was created by Steve Jobs? It's a computer, which Brett is using. And there are numerous lies in there. I think that Brett knows what I'm talking about, especially for the first one.
Of course.
Yeah. So the first apple was the apple that made Isaac Newton discover gravity. So this is the most important of all. The second apple was the Apple iPhone, which was designed by Steve Jobs. The third apple was the apple that the fruit mentioned in Bible, Genesis chapter 3, or the so-called Eve's apple. So-called Eve's apple. Great. Yeah, great, huh? Eve's apple. Okay. So where is the apple in Genesis 3, Brett?
Yeah, it's non-existent.
Yeah,
I can read it.
Yeah.
But why should we? Everyone knows this, right?
It's up to you, but because it's been speaking of the fruit of the tree.
And the
not of
woman
Eve's
said unto
apple
the serpent,
or
yes.
Adam's apple. Yeah,
Yeah.
And especially Adam was not seduced by the apple. If so, Adam was seduced by Eve.
Correct. Well, actually, in turn, Eve was seduced by the devil. So,
Yeah.
yeah, isn't that something? But it's interesting. The symbol of the Apple computer was watching something recently where they took two of them, rotated the apple, and it looks like a looks like an alien, you know, that typical gray alien with the you know, with the eyes like that. If you do if you tilt the apple, rotate it, you know, the one with Steve Jobs' face there, if you rotate that clockwise and then put one symmetrically on the other side, it does really look like an alien face. But yeah, I'm not too much into it. I mean, you know, a computer is a computer, Michael. You know, you choose apple or an orange, I guess.
Yeah, but the thing is that this apple is a very prominent symbol, and I think it is been attributed to the Bible as well as to Newton as well as to Apple computers. And I think that Apple computers is by far the most uninteresting fact. I think that more interesting is that there is a rumor that it was an apple falling, which led then Isaac Newton to believe in gravity. And you see that there was also no apple in the Garden of Eden, yeah, which has been depicted. The apple, actually, I think, if I remember correctly, was depicted in the Muslim belief. No, I can look it up, but it's just a minor thing now here. But you see that they also, that they are mocking it here by using the apple as the symbol for gravity. I highly doubt that. And if so, you see that it's just an apple falling from a tree. Yeah? So what's so special about an apple falling from a tree? I would say that if it comes down to biology, it is quite naturally that the apple has to come down from the tree. It's like leaves falling
Exactly,
out.
Michael.
Huh?
Yeah.
So it's very natural. Yeah, so nothing special about it. And when the tree is losing his leaves in autumn. Yeah, people are coming up with ideas. Yeah, so 3 apples that change the world. I'm not going into this. This is actually education speech of a principal in Hong Kong. You see that 3 apples. They don't have any clue, these people. Yeah, professing to be wise, they became fools. So I think that has something to do with religion once again. The age of enlightenment, and especially the age of reason, is the counterfeit to religion and to Christianity once again. It's just a fruit, if you like to say so, of counter-reformation. Yeah? Religion has been a factor of human experience throughout history, from prehistoric to modern times. The bulk of human experiences predates written history. Interesting, huh? Predates written history. Written history is only 5,000 years old, so 3,000 before Christ, more or less. Much prehistoric religion is subject to continued debate. Yeah. This, for example, is the Ussher chronology. We have talked about it briefly from James Ussher, the Archbishop of Ireland. And Ussher deduced, that the first day of creation was October the 23rd. If there were an October, you see that was not named October then, 4004 before Christ on the old Julian calendar. Yeah, of course, it's not. It cannot. It cannot. You see, there's a strange thing that October nowadays is the 10th month. Yeah, Octo means 8, so it used to be the 8 months because the year started actually with March in the former days, which it in meteorological senses does do in the newer times. But October means the 8th month. Yeah, where shall it be the 8th month when it is the beginning of creation? You have to explain me that logic. Yeah, that would also be correct, of course, if it only refers to the Julian calendar, of course, then it's correct. But of course, there was no October, that was just the beginning. Yeah, so that would be appropriate to be October. Yeah. Lightfoot similarly deduced the creation began at nightfall near the autumnal equinox, but the year 3929. Yeah, you see that one day. The 6th day, huh? 6th day, God created man. yeah, 6th day. So on October 29, according to my biblical calendar, huh? What do you think, Brad? Yeah, not I guess. Not 70 years or so later. Okay, so Matthew 1:17 says following.
Yes, Matthew 1:17. Should I read it, Michael?
Mm-hmm.
So all the generations from Abraham to David are 40 generations. From David until the carrying away unto Babylon are 14 generations, and from the carrying away into Babylon unto Christ are 14. Okay, it's 14. Excuse me. This Old English always throws me every single time. Can hardly read it. Sound like an idiot.
Sorry. That's just an older script. I can switch to the newer.
No. Don't change a thing. I just I can start again if you want.
Yeah. So this is just people are usually deducting that from the generations, from the genealogy. Yeah, that's just what I want to point it out. Now look at this picture, please. This is a very famous or maybe infamous picture because, of course, it does violate the second commandment. But that's not of no use by the author of Michelangelo, because in the Roman Catholic system there is no second commandment. Second commandment, just to remind everybody and myself, is the second commandment is Exodus 20. Something 25 or so, 25 or so. Yeah, 24:25. They shall not make unto any graven image or any likenesses of anything that is in heaven above. Yeah, what's that? Huh? What's that? any graven image what is in heaven above. So this is the creation of Adam from the Italian. How could it be? Michelangelo, which forms part of the Sistine Chapel ceiling, or the Sinister Chapel ceiling, maybe. Yeah,
that sounds appropriate. Sinister Chapel, yeah.
Yeah, it illustrates.
Where we break all the commandments, yeah.
Yeah, is it not? Is it not?
That's right. It sure is, Michael.
Okay. So it illustrates a biblical creation narrative from the book of Genesis in which God gives life to Adam, the first man. I said, what? Let's look it up. Let's look up this in comparison from Michelangelo, the creation of Adam. It's called the creation of Adam, huh? The first man. Adam means the first man. Okay. And now compare it with the Vatican. Unite to prevent and unite to cure. Yeah, you see? Nowadays also God wears a glove. Yeah, you see the shattered wall behind it, the position of 2 fingers and 2 hands. Compare that with this, please. Yeah, this is surely a reference to the Michelangelo picture. Yeah, so nowadays also God has to wear a glove. Yeah, he's not omnipotent, he's not almighty anymore. He has to wear protective gloves. Yeah, you see that is a resemblance here on the creation. And don't tell me that is just a coincidence of 2 people pushing their fingers together. Yeah, you see, did you ever greet somebody like this? If so, I think you're in big trouble. I know that we are in big trouble, but you see that does not change any bit. Yeah, they misuse the rainbow symbol, and unite to prevent, unite to cure. Yeah, they say that they are more wise than God who created mankind. They have to redo the creation of mankind in order to protect anybody and to prolong life, and all the promises, like the promises of the snake in the Garden of Eden. What was it before with the promise of the serpent? Ah, ye shall not surely die. That's it. Maybe we should just copy and paste. Huh? I think then it would be interesting context, huh? Ye shall not surely die if you wear protective gloves. I have another problem with that. Because you see, this is the creation of Adam, okay? What do you see in the picture? You see some cloud or something, some angel, some servant, something else, don't know, yeah. And here Adam is here looking to the older man.
Oh, Michael, I can't help but think of Matthew 23 again. The scribes and the Pharisees sit in Moses' seat.
Mm-hmm.
They're trying to depict Moses here.
It's called the creation of Adam, once again, okay? I don't see any Moses here.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No, it's just
the lawgiver, you know.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so, but once again, it's not only that they have to prevent you from dying, but they can because they are just humans, but they think that their science can prolong life. Also, I got another problem with that, because this is called the creation of Adam, once again. So one finger is pointing out to another finger, yeah? God to man. But how was life created in Genesis 2:7, Brett?
Oh, yes, it reads Genesis 2, verse 7, and the Lord God formed man of the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and a man became a living soul.
Yeah. So he formed a man out of the dust of the ground, and he breathed the breath of life. I don't see the dust of the ground, and I don't see the breath of life. That's why I said Sinister Chapel. The Bible doesn't depict that God just reached out his hand to already Adam, and so that is not the creation of Adam, because you see the problem is that Adam has already been created. So how can that be the creation of Adam? My. People that believe everything, huh? They believe everything. For example, if you come down to the age of Enlightenment, with the big thing coming up is psychology, the science of mind and behavior. Yeah, the Bible does not speak of man having a mind or having a soul, but man becoming a living soul through the breath of life, became a living soul, not got a living soul or received a living soul. No, they became a living soul through the breath of life by the Almighty God. You see, when children been born, and they're coming out of their mother's womb, and the first time they inhale oxygen, that's the start when man becoming a living soul. They got them the breath of life. Before that, they are dependent on their mother. I am not a studied physician, doctor, or something else. Yeah, but I have learned, especially when I did astrology, that the start of life was then when the navel, the cord between mother and child. Please help me out, Brett.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, when this cord between the mother and bread, which supplies food and everything else, has been cut.
That's right.
And so the child
umbilical cord, I think it's called. Yeah.
Please.
Umbilical cord.
Okay, so then man is an individual. Yeah, does not rely on anybody else at this moment. He's a complete organism and has then the first breath of life, means then the soul is coming into or man is becoming a soul in this way. So psychology, for example, also has the wrong foundation. Yeah, only the hypothesis of psychology is wrong. So is all of his branches, because if the root is rotten, then what do you think that the fruit will be? Yeah, psychology, for example, is the science of mind and behavior. Yeah, this is the symbol of psychology. And I said, oh yeah, I know that's the symbol of Poseidon. Yeah, or Neptune is the Roman and Poseidon is the Greek. Yeah, so it would be Poseidon because this psychology thing is coming from Greek once again. Yeah, this is Poseidon with his trident. And Neptune, so the Roman equivalent, is one of the planets in the so-called solar system, which is not a solar system. Okay, so this is his symbol. So the symbol of Neptune is the same symbol as the trident, as Poseidon, as the same symbol as psychology. And now you have only to compare the meanings. Yeah, you see, in psychology, what they tell you is that psychology is a science, and it is so wise. It's a psychology is a Greek letter that's commonly associated with the science of psychology. Great. Yeah. So is psychology reliable or not? If we know they got the wrong foundation because they have not a biblical foundation, but they have a Gnostic foundation, that man have a living soul and not becoming a living soul, so God is excluded once again, they have a wrong foundation. And then they are using that symbol, which is a trident. Yeah, and then you see in astrology, what I have learned 25 years ago, yeah, Neptune is you know that is a planet of the solar system. I don't have to go into this. Yeah, and this is the astronomical explanation, which is the explanation of the god, which has the same symbol as the symbol of psychology. And now look at this. Neptune, the god of the sea, is the ruler of Pisces. In astrology, Neptune is considered a planet of inspiration, spirare, dreams, psychic receptivity, illusion, and confusion. This symbol is the same symbol as psychology. Illusion and confusion. Neptune rules spirituality and all things subtle. A youthful and sometimes naive spirit characterizes those with a strong placement of Neptune in their natal charts. On the upside, Neptune is associated with intuition and spiritual enlightenment. As well, it is a planet of mercy and compassion. The more negative manifestations of Neptune include deception, trickery, deceit, guilt, and addiction. Yeah, and that's the same for psychology, because the root is wrong, but they're using the same symbols. They're using the same symbols of ancient gods. Yeah, Neptune, Poseidon. It's the same, and they have the trident. And it's the same for psychology, and even in astrology, psychic. Yeah, it's all in there. It's all the same. It's all the worshipping and veneration of ancient gods and goddesses. Just wanted to point it out. That's why I always shake my head about psychology. So once again, it has nothing to do with the creation of Adam when Adam is still created. So that we have been fooled, and we are being fooled all over the time. So the chronology of the Bible, why do I get into this when it is the age of enlightenment or the scientific revolution? Well, they have to exclude God. It's everything but the scriptures in the counter-reformation we talked about. So this James Ussher came up with the resolution, or that it has been. So this James Ussher came up with 4004 before Christ, and now maybe you get the idea why I put it is in this context in the script. As recently as the 17th, 18th century, the Archbishop of Armagh, James Ussher, and scholars of the stature of Isaac Newton believed that dating creation was knowable from the Bible. Yeah, that's why I've inserted here, because Isaac Newton was not only a very famous scholar and scientist, but also was heavily influenced by the Bible and all the other things. But don't judge the book by its cover. I'm going into Mr. Newton quite soon. Ussher proposed a date of 4004 before Christ differed little from other biblical-based estimates such as those of José ben Chalafta, Bede, Ussher's near contemporary Scaliger, Johannes Kepler, 3992 before Christ, or Sir Isaac Newton, 4000, which is dubious. Okay. Ussher was influenced by the same account as the apocryphal Book of Joshua, which we know that the Book of Joshua, we have talked about that before, Brad, that most likely is lost today, dating the worldwide flood to 2349 before Christ and the birth of Terra in 2127 before Christ. The date of 4000 before Christ as the creation of Adam was at least partially influenced by the widely held belief that the earth was approximately 5600 years old. Speaking of the 16th century here, yeah, so 2000 plus 1600, corresponding to the 6 days of creation. So that would be, today it would be 6000 years, of course. We're living in the year 2021 at the moment of this recording. Yeah. The tradition was believed to indicate that Jesus would return in 2000 AD, more than 6,000 years after 4004 before Christ. Modern proponents of this interpretation hold that the creation date 4004 before Christ could be inaccurate. So we don't concern ourselves to this stuff. Yeah, the focus point of all the calculations actually is the reign of Herod the Great. And I think that not by coincidence, it is unclear when he died. Right, look at this, either 4 or 5 or 1 or 1 before or 1 after Christ was born. Most scholarships concerning the date of Herod's death, around 4 before Christ. This is 3 years earlier than the previous consensus. So consensus, yeah. So nobody knows the truth actually when Herod died. But according to, where was it? I think it was the book of Matthew. Where is the book of Matthew? I think it was the book of Matthew who depicted that Herod died, I don't know, I think 1 year later when Jesus Christ was born or so. Oh, I got so tired eyes at the moment I cannot see it. Maybe it has been written here, but you can look it up for yourself. I'm not going into this because we will far extend our timeline here. Yeah. It is almost universally Catholic accepted that the book of Joshua and the book of Judges have little historical value. Haha, the book of Joshua. Okay. Yeah. So let's get it on. The Usher Lightfoot calendar. This is the German part. You can skip it. Yeah, Gnosis, of course. That's the counterpart also. The counterpart. Yeah. Collection of religious ideas originated among Jewish and early Christian sects, but it is actually the counterpart. Now I'm going into, the gods of science. Does science create gods? That's a German article here. Yeah, the big scientists of physics and chemical like Isaac Newton. Okay. Yeah. Oh, it's very interesting. We have to retranslate it. The gods of science. Do gods create knowledge? The world of science began with great scientists of physics and chemistry as embodied by Isaac Newton. This time we are here in the 17th and 18th centuries, and people like Newton had a decisive influence on science in the following centuries. Through their research, these scientists have grown into celebrities with godlike status. Yeah, that's the same as today, huh? As a result, science found its way into medicine, and the great days of researchers such as Louis Pasteur or Robert Koch began, who also achieved a status similar to God. Yeah, this Robert Koch Institute is a German institute for health and pestilences, very recent today. They were the bearers of hope for many people in these times, when these times plagued by epidemics. Okay. Arguments for the heliocentrical system. Johannes Kepler, Isaac Newton's Principia, with his theory of gravitation in 1687. Yeah, so that's quite 50 years after Galileo. Okay. And they had tried many things to prove that, especially of the parallax of the fixed stars. And then there is one absolute thing which is absolute untrue, and this is this. Only Leon Foucault's pendulum attempt in 1855 convinced the last doubters. And this is absolutely BS. This is absolutely BS. How can anybody know that everybody believes in this Leon Foucault, for example? Now, this is an absolute thing, absolute BS, and this is once again is propaganda. Okay, we will go into this quite soon. Yeah, so this is once again, just give it here. Okay, come on. I received an email from our friend Daryl Eberhard yesterday, and he wrote the following. Evangelist Richard Bennett, who had been a Dominican priest for 22 years, visited Rome as a priest. He said that he looked at all the bishops and cardinals dressed in purple and scarlet. He thought, wow. Later, as an evangelist, he wondered how some Christians could be looking for some only at the end of time Antichrist, while ignoring the main candidate for the Antichrist that Luther and Wesley and all saw. Yeah, and he mentioned also Sir Isaac Newton in his email. This is yesterday or the day before. So he mentioned also that Luther, Sir Isaac Newton. And what about this Isaac Newton now? So meet Sir Isaac Newton, PRS. He lived in the 17th and 18th century. He has an award as a Knight Bachelor from the Queen, and was FRS. He was a fellow of the Royal Society. He was the high regarded scientific researcher of his time. And he was a key figure in a philosophical revolution known as the Enlightenment. That's why I have to deal with him. His book Philosophia Naturalis, Principia Mathematica, Mathematical Principles of Natural Philosophy, established classical mechanics. He made contributions of optics, etc., etc. In Principia, Newton formulated the laws of motion and universal gravitation, you know the apple, that formed the dominant science viewpoint until it was superseded by the theory of relativity from Mr. Albert Einstein. Newton used his mathematical description of gravity to revive Kepler's laws of planetary motion, account for tides, the trajectories of comets, the precession of the equinoxes and other phenomena, eradicating doubt about the solar system heliocentricity. Heliocentricity. And you see, that's the key thing here. Yeah? To eradicate doubt about the solar system's heliocentricity. Brett, what did Cardinal Bellarmine last told about Galileo? That after the Copernican thing, we need physical proof. Yeah,
they needed proof. So.
Wasn't it Cardinal Bellarmine? I cannot recall. I think it was Cardinal.
That's absolutely right, Robert Bellarmine.
And he was a Jesuit, and he said, "Oh, we need proof." Absolutely. And then Isaac Newton came up with the theory of gravitation. He demonstrated that the motion of objects on Earth and celestial bodies could be accounted for by the same principles. Newton's inference that the Earth is an oblate sphere was later confirmed by the geodetic measurements of Maupertuis, La Condamine, and others, convincing most European scientists of the superiority of Newton mechanics and over earlier systems. Yeah, that was much needed for the Jesuits for their heliocentric system. And he received what? He received a seat, the first premier of the Royal Society. And was being granted a knight for the Queen. So I think by not a margin, we cannot estimate that he was a Protestant, huh? Or was he? He was a devout but unorthodox Christian who privately rejected the doctrine of the Trinity. Unusual for a member of the Cambridge faculty of the day, he refused to take holy orders in the Church of England. Beyond his work on the mathematical sciences, Newton dedicated much of his time to the study of alchemy and biblical chronology. That's a combination, Brett, huh? Yeah. So you have here somebody who is devout but unorthodox, is studying alchemy and is writing biblical chronology, rejecting the Trinity. Wow. But most of his work in those areas remained unpublished until long after his death, politically and personally tied to the Whig Party. Yeah, shall we go into the Whig Party? I don't think so.
That sounds pretty mixed up, Michael.
He was knighted by Queen Anne in 1705 and spent the last 3 decades of his life in London serving as warden and master of the Royal Mint as well as the president of the Royal Society for almost 25 years. So he was awarded for his science. Don't tell that science is proof. They needed a physical proof, Cardinal Bellarmine said, for the heliocentric system of Copernicus. And they needed the calculations of Galileo. So the line of chain of events actually is Copernicus, a bit of Kepler, Galileo, and Newton. Okay, so that's the conclusion here. Isaac Newton was born on Christmas Day on the 25th December of 1642. He was born prematurely. Newton was a small child. And he could fit inside a quart mug, whatever that is. When Newton was 3, his mother remarried and went to live with her new husband, the Reverend Barnabas Smith, leaving her son in the care of his maternal grandmother. Newton disliked his stepfather and maintained, etc., etc., etc. He admitted to Trinity College, Cambridge, on the recommendation of his uncle, Reverend William S. Corr, who had studied there. And this William S. Corr cannot be the man which has been presented here because that's much too early. Yeah. In 1661, he was admitted to Trinity College, Cambridge, on the recommendation of his uncle, Reverend William S. Corr, who had studied there. So he came from a family who were a bit together with the church, it seems. So he had unconventional views, but he managed to avoid it by the means of special permission from the king, Charles II of England. Then he was elected Fellow of the Royal Society. Yeah, we go into much of the things that don't think so. He said, quote, "I will either set theology as the object of my studies and will take holy orders when the time prescribed by these statutes arise, or I will resign from the college." Up until this point, he had not thought much about religion and had twice signed his agreement to the 39 Articles, the basis of Church of England doctrine. So just had to get rid of it. Yeah. But I have looked upon his biography, and yeah, I think you will be pleased to learn. But gravity means weight. It means just weight. And we know that the gravitation theory of gravitation by Mr. or Sir Isaac Newton is a natural phenomenon. It's been described as is. Yeah, that all things with mass or energy, including planets, stars, galaxy, and even light, are attracted to one another. So that means that the apple who is falling to the earth, the reason is that the apple is attracted to the earth because the earth is more heavier and has more gravitational force than the apple. You really have to be clever to come up with this explanation. Yeah. Because, for example, I highly doubt that, because I doubt, or I can imagine, and I'm not the only one, that just the apple is just heavier than air, and therefore he falls down. Yeah? If you have anything which can fall down, be it a leaf, or be it a piece of paper, or be it an apple, yeah, they have the same velocity, the same speed of going down. There is a formula for that, but it does not mean they have been attracted by the Earth for his gravitation. They need that gravitation for their heliocentric system to get rid of God, to state that there is a universal force which holds everything in place. I think this is my explanation for the so-called gravity. Because the gravity is a force which you cannot calculate. You can only calculate the speed of the fall, like the Twin Towers fell in real time, 9.81 meters per second square second. What is it? Seconds per square or square second? What
yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah. Seconds per square. So that is this explanation, that the Earth has gravity and therefore attracts everything which falls down. Yeah? But you see that falling down is just one motion. Yeah, if there would be a very, very heavy object, let's look it up to back up my theory. Let's just make, yeah. Imagine a chair and a tree. Okay, not a chair of a tree, but a chair and a tree. Oh my, how hard can it be? Is there nobody who has a chair in the garden? How hard can it be? my. It seems to be very hard. Chair besides a tree. Maybe then we will get lucky. Yeah, we will get lucky. Yeah, so this means the tree is more heavy than the chair, and the tree would attract the chair. So that the chair with gravitation would be there. Gravitation would mean that the chair would be attracted by the tree because the tree is more heavier than the chair. Now explain to me. So we have only to wait billions of years when the chair will be attracted and pushed to the tree. Yeah, I'm not saying anything else for the next time, because you have simply to wait. It's all happened by evolution. Also, we have just to wait millions of billions of years. Just wait. Maybe you see the chair moving. Oh, did you see that? No, you don't see anything, because you see that it's just the speed of falling down, an object falling down. You can calculate the speed. And then you have a formula, and then declare, oh, this is a formula of gravity. It's gravity which attracts objects. Which more mass, it has gravity, and less mass, has less gravity, and so there is a law of gravity. Yeah. So he formulated the laws of motion and universal gravitation. Yeah. That every particle attracts every other particle. So that means an ant is being attracted by the tree. Yeah, the tree is a very big threat for the ant, because the ant is so slow and the tree has such force of gravitation. It is directionally proportional to the product of their masses and inversely proportional to the square of the distance between their centers. It sounds like blinding you with science, no? With the use of big words and complex explanations. Why does things fall? Because they are too heavy to stay in the air. My. I'm sorry, I got no good grades in physics. Maybe I'm too dumb off for this. Yeah, because I'm not the fellow of the Royal Society. Yeah, but otherwise, I don't believe also in the heliocentric system and not on the spinning Earth. Because for that heliocentric system, with the sun in the center and a moving and a spinning Earth at the same time, we have to have gravity. Otherwise, everything would be spun around, and everything would be in motion. Yeah, if you go outside, out of your door, yeah, do you see anything spinning around? A hurricane? Yeah. Oh, we can go on and on and on in this heliocentric system. Oh, it's very interesting. Yeah, but you need one theory after the other theory, which proves the other theory. Yeah, but the concept is, again, it has to be against the Bible. Otherwise, you won't get a reward. Yeah, which scientist do you know? Do you know Albert Smith from so and so? Maybe it's just an imaginary name. Or the people which I will present to you quite later on in the next sessions. No, you only know Copernicus, you know Kepler, you know Galileo, and you know Newton. But how many of you know Tycho Brahe? He was the imperial astronomer.
None of us, Michael.
None of you. Because he does not promote the system of the Jesuitical heliocentric model. So you only know the people who have been decorated for this indoctrination system. That's the key. I'm not speaking that he was not smart or intelligent, however you would like to have it. Yeah, I'm just speaking about that these people are being promoted, and so that's the reason also why the current Nobel Prize winner has something to do with the current situation out there. And also that Carey Mullis has been granted a Nobel Prize, because that PCR, that was just the right thing at the right time they needed to have. It is not serving the people, it is against the people, it is against the truth. So this gravitation system, I highly doubt that, because there nobody could explain to me what gravitation means in the universe. So why does gravitation work in the outer space when there are billions of miles between planets or stars? And how come? Who created that force? It came out of nothing, out of the Big Bang, boom, it was there. You see, it only will do. Yeah, when people believe the origin, that there is no God, then they believe mankind, then they believe every scientist who comes along. Because it's just like a pyramid of doctrine. Yeah, here on the lower floor, you build the thing, the gnosis, that you see that we can explain everything. We are so wise. We are great scientists of the world. Yeah, then you get rid of God. Then the next layer comes on top, the next step, and you have all these Greek philosophers. Oh yeah, we can explain everything. We are so wise. We are tearing you out of Plato's cave. You get to the Enlightenment. You get to the light of the sun. Yeah. Next step is, yeah, you erect a Roman Catholic system where everything has been founded with money, big time, and everybody studies the same. And then comes the next scientific measurements, then comes the astronomical revolution, then comes the scientific revolution, then comes the medical revolution, then comes the atom, etc., etc., etc. And you look, you are then 500 years indoctrinated with science. or at the moment 400 plus years, indoctrinated with Jesuitical science. History of gravitational theory. Oh, look here. What do they tell you? It's a theory. Archimedes, the center of gravity of a triangle. Oh, it wasn't Isaac Newton. Archimedes, yeah, the Greek philosopher, yeah, sure. Triangle, scientific revolution, yeah. Aristotle, Galileo, Newton, all the same, all the people you know. Oh, and look here, the relation of the distance of objects in free fall to the square of the time taken was confirmed by who? By the Jesuits Grimaldi and Riccioli. They also made a calculation of Earth gravity by recording the oscillations of a pendulum. Oh, we come to that quite later. Newton's theory of gravitation, or universal gravitation, on the motions of bodies in an orbit, in which he derives Kepler's laws of planetary motion. You see, only the guys who serve the system, they are getting famous, and they are getting their, their note in the history books.
Their reward, Michael.
Their reward, yeah. Yeah, there was a discrepancy in Mercury's orbit, etc., etc. Yeah, so that issue was resolved in 1950 by Albert Einstein's new theory of general relativity. What does that tell you of the most intelligent man of the Royal Society, the head? Yeah, that his assumption was not correct, because there is a new theory of general relativity which accounts for the small discrepancy, etc. So they have a new theory now, which means the old theory is not sufficient anymore. And what does that tell you? That this is just not an absolute, it's just relative. And that's the old trick of every other people, and also of the philosophers, to say no absolutes, but everything is individual and everything is relative. So they get away with that. Yeah, they said, oh, from my viewpoint, no, that's relative. I need absolute proof. I not need relative proof. They said, oh, for me, the sun is green. Then it is relative truth. I need absolute truth. I need the absolute truth. Who created everything? Why am I here? Where am I going to? Nobody can answer you the questions without reading the Bible properly. Because all the other people say, oh, I'm just here to have some fun. If I kill somebody, then who cares? No? Do what thou wilt. I'm a Satanist, no? For example. Yeah, is that a concept which fits to you? Really? You're in the wrong session then, buddy. Yeah, this is universal gravitation. Yeah, you can lose yourself your entire life in formulas and by the use of big words and complex explanations. I don't believe in gravitation because it only serves one purpose: to convince you about the heliocentric system of a spinning Earth. That's his goal, and that's why also this was so confirmed by these Jesuits. No? You see, they have been mentioned here. They have been mentioned here. Where were they? Here, Grimaldi and Riccioli. Yeah, they were mentioned here as the confirmators, confirmation people, two Jesuits. Huh? How coincidentally, Mr. Isaac Newton, to get a little bit more image. You see that we have to judge them by their fruits, and I'd like to show you some fruits of Mr. Newton. Yeah. Newton was a member of the Parliament of England for Cambridgeshire, but according to some accounts, his only comments were to complain about a cold draw in the chamber and request that the window be closed. Ah, great. So, Newton became perhaps the best known master of the mint upon the death of Thomas Neal in 1699, a position Newton held for at least 30 years of his life. Yeah, and he was 24 years of his life. He was being the head of the Royal Society of Science. Yeah, this is a coat of arms of the Newton family after Isaac Newton died. Sorry. This is the coat of arms of the Newton family, afterwards used by Sir Isaac. Yeah, so it's a cross. It's also a cross of bones. I don't think that's a very positive symbol.
No, it doesn't look too good, Michael.
It doesn't look too good, no? A cross of bones and the X. So, like, yeah. Newton was the second scientist to be knighted after Francis Bacon. Francis Bacon, also a very interesting character, but don't have any time for, cannot mention anybody here. But Newton, oh, you have to look something. Albert Einstein kept a picture of Newton on his study wall alongside ones of Michael Faraday and James Clerk Maxwell. In a 2005 survey of members of British Royal Society, formerly headed by Newton, asking who had a greater effect on the history of science, Newton or Einstein, the members deemed Newton to have made the greater overall contribution. Yeah. So some of them, 1999, they said that this was Einstein and Newton the runner-up. So, but you see that a survey of rank and file physicists of the science physics web gave the top spot to Newton. So he was the top. He still is the top scientific guy of all times. Yeah, gravity, something which you cannot prove. You can measure it by the speed of falling objects. This is so hilarious. This is really hilarious. Because you see, the attraction of objects does not mean they are only attracted. You can only. This is not a proof. If something is falling down, it does not a proof that it has something to do with gravity. It could have other origins. If you have two stationary objects there, the big stone on the left hand and maybe a small ant on the other side, yeah, and then the ant would be torn to the stone and can't help it and cannot move because the gravity of the stone. Yeah, then I could believe it. But I don't see that. I just see, I see big stones lying out there and they are not moving. I see small stones move. It's in my humble opinion, either I don't get it, but or it's false. And as I know, as I believe in the Bible, the earth is not moving. We will come to this quite later on. Yeah, so the history of the concept of gravity is only there to support the heliocentrical, Jesuitical solar science system of the Roman Catholic Church. Now, to the last
stuff, Michael.
Huh?
This looks very interesting, please.
Yeah, these are the religious views of Isaac Newton. You see that it's just not his own words, it's just biographers. Okay. He was born into an Anglican family, but his 30s Newton had a Christian faith that had been made public, would not have been considered orthodox by mainstream Christianity. What is mainstream Christianity? If it is the mainstream. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
With one historian labeling him a heretic. So, Newton recognized Christ as a divine mediator between God and man, who was subordinate to the Father who created him. Yeah, that's the quote of Westphal, that's the biographer. He was especially interested in prophecy, but for him the great apostasy was Trinitarianism. I'm very proud that I have spelled it correctly. That's not so easy. Yeah, so. This is the page 121 of that very biography from Mr. Westphal, which has been quoted here quite often. No? You see that here, footnote, Westphal, etc. You can look it up. It's on Wikipedia. Okay. From Hebrews 1, he quoted verses 8-9, which say that God set Christ on his right hand, called him God, and told him, because he had loved righteousness, therefore God, even thy God, hath anointed thee with the oil of gladness about thy fellows. This is not quoted from the King James Bible as far as I'm concerned, but I don't, as you see, it's just the context which is interesting here. And he says that in that biography, there is only one mediator between God and man. It's Christ Jesus, 1 Timothy 2:5. He's not referring to John 14. No? He's not referring to that. Almost the first fruit of Newton's theological study was doubt about the status of Christ and the doctrine of the Trinity. In Newton's eyes, worshipping Christ as God was idolatry, to him the fundamental sin. Quote of Westphal, biography, page 124. I got into this today. And this is the very book. In Newton's eyes, worshipping Christ as God was idolatry, to him the fundamental sin. Idolatria had appeared among the original list of headings in his theological notebook. The special horror of the perversion that triumphed in the 4th century was the reversion of Christianity to idolatry after the early church has established proper worship of the one true God. If there be no transubstantiation, he wrote in his early 1670s, never was pagan idolatry so bad as the Roman, even the Jesuits sometimes confess. Newton held that the Pope in Rome had aided and abetted Athanasius, and that the idolatrous Roman Church was the direct producer of Athanasius' corrupt of doctrine. Yeah, and at the same time here, when he said that worshipping Christ as God was idolatry, he said that recognizing Christ as a divine mediator between God and humankind, who was to subordinate to the Father who created him. Worshipping Christ as God was idolatry. That's been stated here in that very biography. I have it not as a quote, okay? I have it only in that biography. Yeah, but if he doesn't realize that the Earth is not a spinning ball, then I can't help it. No? More significantly was the implicit de-emphasis of the role of Christ, a step which came readily enough to an Arian. Yeah. Instead of the agent of the new dispensation, Christ was a prophet like Moses. That was the end of page 139.
Sheesh.
And that's what's
Michael, that's pretty interesting you bring this up.
I thought so. That is nevertheless, it's science and religion together.
That's really, really where it's at.
Yeah, and that's why I came up here with 1 John.
How can they say, but Michael, how can they say that he rejected the Trinitarian doctrine when he is, oh boy, I mean, yeah, that really says a lot about having to go look things up and study it for yourself, doesn't it, Michael? Yeah,
you can go into the studying of Isaac Newton. You see that Isaac Newton usually has a very good reputation because he was so wise or so clever or what else, and he did the studies of the Bible. Yeah, but that does not necessarily mean that he is correct. You see that?
No, of course not. You got to read it and read between the lines, like we just did, Michael.
If he does not confess that Jesus Christ has come in the flesh.
Yeah, that's right. It says 1 John chapter 4, verse 1, beloved, believe not every spirit, but try the spirits, whether they are of God. Very good point, Michael. Because many false prophets are gone out into the world, hereby know that ye the Spirit of God. Hereby know ye the Spirit of God, excuse me. Every spirit that confesseth not, every spirit that confesseth that Jesus Christ is come in the flesh is of God, and every spirit that confesseth not that Jesus Christ is come in the flesh is not of God. And this is that spirit of Antichrist, whereof ye have heard that it should come, and even now it already is in the world.
Do you believe?
Yes, that was at the time of Christ.
Yeah,
already in the world.
And I have two arguments about that. The first argument is that if you would be in the spirit of Christ, you would not care about things like gravitation. Because he wanted to make it big in the world. He wanted to become the one.
Bravo.
Second one is when he was living, the King James Bible in England, was already printed. So you cannot compare him with somebody coming on the 6th century or something like this. Yeah, you have to really think about where his heritage is. Yeah, so Sir Isaac Newton, I will look it up here, but I will froze the picture here. Sir Isaac Newton was also responsible for the coins of the British. Yeah, he was a British. Yeah, he was a British guy. He lived from 1642 to 1726. So he could be in the possession of a King James Bible. And that was the time when in England, as far as my knowledge is, the real Protestant belief was on its high.
Right. The height of the Reformation.
But then to reject Christ, because you see that then to reject Christ and to make that statement, he recognized the Roman Catholic system as futile, but you see that that was a common belief, I think, in England at the time. So that is maybe not his own personal view, but the general view, and he could not violate that general view because he wanted to make it to the university, etc. So he had, on the outside, he had to have a Protestant belief on that time. Once again, 1643 he was born. So he studied in the 1670s. So he could not say, oh, I'm a Catholic or I'm an Orthodox or so. He had to say, oh, I write in to the English church, yeah, so what? But then he studied the things, and yeah, many people consider him as a heretic, but you see that I'm not judging anybody. Yeah, I'm not judging anybody. But he didn't got it quite wrong, especially look at his position. All the mighty men of the earth, all the most profound men on the earth, you see that he was hiding his biblical things after his death. And he did what? Yeah, he did alchemy as well. Do you think that that is a kind of hobby for a Christian guy? For a real Christian?
No. It's for a mystic, Michael. The mystics are into this.
President of the Royal Society. You think that the Royal Society, oh my, really? No, these people serve a purpose, of course.
Mm-hmm.
So this is here coming from a video I found, The Secret Side of Sir Isaac Newton. Yeah, he moved to a nearby village to live with a wealthy clergyman. Newton was left behind. This is a quote of him: Plato is my friend, Aristotle is my friend, but my best friend is true. So his best friend would be Jesus Christ. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and he thought he could explain everything in his Philosophia Naturalis Principia Mathematica Isaaco Newtono. Yeah? 1687. The Holy Bible. By careful studying the holy text, he could predict the future. He also believed in the year 2060, apocalypse would happen in the year, with the caveat, it may end later, but I see no reason for it. Yeah, so he predicted the year 2060. Can tell you why. And Brett also knows why. It's a 1260 years prophecy. He said, oh, it may end later, but I see no reason for it ending sooner. He foresaw a period marked by war and catastrophe, followed by the second coming. Yeah. It's not his fault that here God is depicted, huh? Not to blame him, please. Secret Side of Isaac Newton. His own writing, he did hold unorthodox views of Christianity by rejecting the Trinity, etc., etc., etc. There you see, he's busy with prophecy. Therefore, the 2,300 years I do not end before the year 2132, nor after 2,370-60. The time, etc., etc., I do before 2060 now, etc., etc., etc. So that was it. He was a mathematician, don't forget that, please. He was a scientific guy. And he did also that prophecy on the Bible, because maybe he was interested, but yeah. Then he came up with the laws of gravity. Oh, where is God in his laws? Because in Matthew 24:36, yeah, everybody tries to get to the year because it is forbidden to know the day and the hour. But that's why many people, and I think that Brad knows of whom I'm thinking at the moment, are trying to calculate the exact year of the second coming of Christ. Yeah, but
should I read it, Michael?
It's up to you.
Matthew 24, verse 33. So likewise ye, when ye shall see all these things, know that it is near, even at the doors. Verily I say unto you, this generation shall not pass till all these things be fulfilled. Heaven and earth shall pass away, but my words shall not pass away. But of that day and hour knoweth no man, no, not the angels of heaven, but my Father only.
Yeah. Yeah, so that I do not care about prophecy. I don't know when Christ's second coming is to be done, but I know one thing, that I'm not clever enough, not intelligent enough, and I'm humble enough to not try to calculate anything, but be pleased then when it occurs, not only for me, but for all the people who have been saved to have eternal life. Yeah, that's the only thing what I do care for. I don't care if it is this year, if I can see it, or if anybody other can see it, just that it happens. Yeah, I'm not a scientist, I'm a believer. Newton also had another unknown side to him. He spent 25 years secretly studying alchemy, the search for a method to turn common metals into gold, or to be wise and to find the missing element. This is a manuscript where Newton wrote Arcanum Philosophis, also so the Sorcerer's Stone, etc., or the Philosopher's Stone, magnesium, etc., etc., etc. Yeah, down receipt to be a step toward concocting the mythical Philosopher's Stone, like like Harry Potter, now popularized in the Harry Potter series, also from, you guess it, England. Yes, J.K. Rowling. With the he has the owl as a messenger. Yeah, like alchemists believed it could even help humans achieve immortality. So what are we experiencing now in 2021? Some kind of alchemy, reborn, alchemy revival out there, mRNA alchemy. Unfortunately, and this is the very end, Newton may have gotten mercury poisoning from all the time spent in the laboratory. Examinations of his hair after his death found high levels of the toxic compound, which scholars believe could explain his mental breakdown in 1693 when he lost grip on reality. He wrote letters accusing the few friends he had of conspiring against him. He suffered from insomnia and oppression. The personal crisis lasted a year and a half, not too long after he was, coin making as warden and then master of the mint. He also took it upon himself to prosecute culprits. Real Christian? A real Christian? Another ugly dispute involved a brilliant scientist named Robert Hooke, who contended he was the one who gave Newton the notion that led to his theory of gravity and wanted credit. In response, Newton is accused of using his powers as a president of the Royal Society, getting the legacy he wanted. In 1705, Queen Anne of England knighted him during a royal visit. Yeah, and here lies which was the mortals of Isaac Newton. His immortal legacy continues to mold our modern world. Yeah, a man who was busy with the coin printing, a man who was busy with alchemy, a man who was busy with prophecy, a man who was not realizing that Jesus Christ was God in the flesh. Yeah, but he was the #1 of scientists of all time, of course. He has to be the Antichrist spirit.
Yeah, and it says something here. I'm going to look up a Bible verse here so I don't.
And also, please, Brett, allow me, please, before I forget that, this is the third time of mercury poisoning. First, we had Paracelsus. Then we had Tycho Brahe, with his beard and all the mercury, the toxic mercury. And now the third time is Isaac Newton dying of mercury poisoning.
Isn't that something?
And all the people,
lightning striking three times in the same place.
Yeah, and all the three of the people were busy with alchemy. We know that the Jesuits are masters of poison, that we know. So we cannot prove anything, but you see that, also snakes do kill with poison. Huh? And the snake is also symbol for enlightenment or for knowledge. Huh? It's very interesting if you have all the symbology in order. Huh? Yeah. Introduction. The Jesuits in historiography of early modern science. The Society of Jesus was first recognized as an order of the Catholic Church in 1540, 3 years before the publication of De Revolutionibus by Nicolaus Copernicus, 1543. As they were a well-educated group involved with many of the intellectual trends of their day, one would expect that the Jesuits would have also been involved with the new trends in science of the day, and such an assumption is correct. Yeah. Traditionally had been called the scientific revolution, and now you know who started that revolution in 1514, yeah? Using the first pamphlet of Nicolaus Copernicus. That's my assumption. Yeah, you see that it began with the proposal of heliocentric universe by Copernicus, concentrating on those developments in astronomy and physics that confirmed his hypothesis, and ended with Isaac Newton and his associates. These were the great men of renown, no, the great men of science.
There is the key word I was thinking right there. The great men of the earth, Michael. Where is that mentioned in the Bible? Revelation 18, ring a bell for anybody? Yeah.
And you see that I'm not the only one. I came up with that, and then I found this, and I said, oh, this is absolutely. The Catholic Church was blatantly evil institution because it not only opposed Copernican astronomy, but persecuted Galileo for promoting it. No, it is a blatant evil institution, but they are playing the coin from both sides. They are playing the left and right. Yeah, and the Protestants were criticizing Copernicus, most notably Martin Luther, if it is so. So the Jesuits rejected the Copernican system on the outside, because at that moment that was the official opposite of the doctrine of the Roman Catholic Church. So they had to have physical evidence for that, and there Newton came along, and so they had to wait. They wait hundreds of years. Yeah? Yeah, you see that Isaac Newton was born 100 years after Copernicus was publishing his works. And they had to wait, but finally they found somebody. Yeah, it's very interesting. I think we have to stop it here because it would. We're also 8:30 at the moment, but I think that I have made my point. We have 11 pages now. Or maybe I'll read a little bit of it. During the last several decades, in particular, this narrative of revolution has been questioned. It had begun when historians of medieval science insisted that the term medieval science was an oxymoron and proved it was worthy of study. There were many important innovations in medieval science and technology, and much continuity between the Middle Ages and later periods. As most of the intellectuals of the Middle Ages were Catholic clergy educated by them, yeah, of course, this also showed that the Catholic Church was not inherently against progress in science. Yeah, in their science, by any means. On the other hand, scholars who focused on early modern science began to notice not just the continuities with medieval science, but also the often vast differences between their subject and modern science. They have pointed out how the use of the term science and scientist was anachronistic, for early modern scholars studied natural philosophy in their universities, and there was no professional class of scientists. In this period, subjects they are anathema to today's scientific community. Magic, astrology, alchemy were studied and accepted as valid scientific pursuits. Yeah, you want to have might, yeah, power. Yeah. Everything is okay as long as it serves the church. And they have begun to notice that Catholic intellectuals and members of religious orders were importantly engaged in the study. There was one order, however, that stands out from all the others as the scientific orders without rival in the 17th century Catholicism, and that, of course, is the Society of Jesus. The scientific order.
You can put that in bold letters.
Yeah.
I was going to say, yeah.
And that's not my opinion. That's not my opinion. That comes from this reference work, brilliant online entries, Jesuitic, graphical, etc.
Yeah. Oh boy.
Knowledge about electricity was kept alive during the 17th century by Jesuit polymaths, etc. Yeah, so they had everything in control because they had the financing and backing up from the Catholic Church. Heilbronn gives prominence to the Jesuits as both teachers and practitioners in the field of astronomy and physics in his book, The Sun in the Church. Yeah. Yeah, the Sun in the Church. Huh? Yeah, look at the Hoc est corpus in meum. Yeah. Yeah, etc., etc., etc. Christopher Clavius, all these Jesuits, yeah, they're actually supervising all the things. Yeah, they are supervising the things, Brett. Yeah, it's just they are supervising the things, and they just come some worldly guy like Newton and all the other people. They come along and they get their reward. They get their reward, and that's about it. Actually, I'm at the end for when it comes down to Newton. Yeah, so
talk about the end, Michael. I mean, what's it worth? They get their reward, but what's their reward really worth anyway?
You have a
pieces of silver or gold or something.
Yeah, you have a great gravestone.
You
have a gravestone with an inscription, and everybody remembers your name, and yeah, that's it.
Oh, fame and fortune and all the
vain things.
Decorations, yes, the decorations. Yeah, great. And what do you do in the meantime? You confuse the whole world, get them all mixed up. Never mind the gospel of Jesus Christ, huh? Because that's what really suffers.
Yeah, you see, you can go out into the theory of gravity. Yeah, but you see what in my opinion, you may have other conclusions.
Oh, it's not just gravity, Michael. It's universal gravitation, which means it's Catholic gravitation. Ooh, I remember seeing this like an image of Ignatius Loyola levitating in private, you know? Couldn't do it in the open, but in private, he's levitating. Oh.
Yeah, you see? That's the inconvenient or inconvenient truth.
That was actually the title for a film by Al Gore. You know that? You know that one. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's it for Isaac Newton. You can come up with your own explanations, and you can study his work, and you will see that he's a very intelligent guy. But you see that for what's the reason? You see that the problem with Isaac Newton is that these people do not use their intelligence for studying the world. They just use their intelligence for making it big time. Yeah, so he was in the parliament. He was the head of the Royal Society. He was benighted by the Queen, and he was been seen as the #1 scientologist, not scientist. Sorry, the scientist of all times. With his and he came up with the apple-folding that there is an attraction between objects called the theory of gravitation. I'm sorry. But to break it down in a nutshell, that for me, you see that he's a smart guy. But everybody to be outstanding scientists, you have to come up with some theories, and nobody can prove it. Actually, nobody can prove it. It's a theory. Once again, it is still a theory. The still theory of gravitation. Nobody has ever seen, and to my knowledge, and don't come to me with magnetism. I can talk about magnetism another time, but. For the sheer gravitation, nobody has ever seen two lying objects coming together, or the smaller object is coming to the bigger object. Yeah, you see that the story of gravitation for me is pure fiction. It's science fiction. It's not science. It's fiction. So everything you see, you have to exclude God, and so you have to explain to your pupils as the head of the Royal Society. You have to explain, no, that is just, you see that, of course, he's a Protestant and he knows everything. He's just only has problem with many things in the scripture. But the problem with Isaac Newton is that he wanted to become a big one. And therefore he can be deceived by Satan, because Satan and his followers, his angels, his evil spirits, are way, way, way more intelligent than some Isaac Newton. Yeah, these spirits are thousands of years old. And Satan himself was, had seen so many things thousands of years ago. And then you come as a mortal human and you go studying in the university and you think you know it all. I don't know much. Sorry, I just want to know much, much more. But I know that there is something out there. There's a spirit which inspires people who want to make it big. And Mr. Isaac Newton was one of the biggest guys everywhere. That's the problem with it. If he would be humble, he would be known as a lovely father for the family, for the child. And he was a helpful guy in the community and a friendly neighbor. No, he's famous for his theory of gravitation. That helps how many people? And how many people are deceived by that theory? So how many people he did lead to the broad way, which led to destruction? That's the fruit, in my humble opinion.
Yeah, Michael, I think we can sum it all up really well by this little comic we have in front of us, where here you have the truth on the left and the lie on the right. I mean, really, who cares if that's Al Gore's title? The truth is on the left, the lie is on the right. You got all these smirking people in a line going around the block or whatever.
And Jesus Christ is on the right side of God usually, but okay. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I can't help it. This is the image, okay?
Sure.
But yeah, I mean, sure, it's represented here on the right and the left, but yeah, the fact of the matter is, it doesn't matter. The point is, the lie sells. The truth does not sell. No one wants the truth because guess what? You can't make any money telling the truth. And that's really the fact with the gospel too, isn't it, Michael?
Mm-hmm.
You don't make any money giving people the true gospel of Jesus Christ and the true message. And yeah, there's some hardship here we're going to have to face. And that is, we're not going to be loved by people. We're not going to be loved by institutions, let's put it that way. The institutions all hate us, Michael, when we speak about the gospel, because the gospel condemns all the institutions. Mm-hmm. The gospel condemns all the false teachers. The gospel condemns all of those that don't have the true discipline of Christ. They have a false discipline. They have a false, what can we say? Hierarchy. It's a false hierarchy that's being supported in this world. And there's a biblical reason for it, believe it or not. And it says right here in Revelation chapter 18, the second half of verse 23, for thy merchants were the great men of the earth. For by thy sorceries were all nations deceived. Yeah, for the wickedness that they're committing in the form of our conscience and what they're doing to explain these theories that don't necessarily ring true, do they now? We don't have to buy them, Michael. We don't have to sell them either.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, because that's what's going on right here in this little cartoon.
Yeah, actually, on the left side here with the truth, that would be the Christian Science. Nobody wants to hear it. Yeah, and this is the satanic, the Antichrist science.
Yeah, there you go.
You see,
so
this is
in the eyes of the world, they're on the right side. See, in the eyes of the world, They're on the right side.
Right. If you
and the
only got
odd
one,
people are all over there that, no one's over there. It's empty. It's gone.
sure,
Except
if you only got one life, you have to make the best out of it. You have to have fun endlessly, almost endlessly, within this life. But you see, this is truth versus lie. This is Jesus Christ versus Satan.
see, if you're on the side of the merchant that's selling the most is on the left, and the merchant that doesn't sell is on the right. So there you go, Michael. Look at it the other way around. The merchant on the right is sad and has no customers, but the merchant on the left is raking it in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And they're all smiling.
Mm-hmm.
All of them.
Yeah.
They're all happy. I got my ticket.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Highway to hell.
Isn't that something? But that's really how it works. Yeah, reassuring the lie of this false system we live in. All the way from cradle to grave, man. Yeah, and when you really look into it, Michael just did that for us. When you really look into the biography of Newton, what did he really believe? Was that thing about the Trinity true? No, it wasn't. No, he was deceived like the rest of them. He didn't follow Christ. He just pretended he did, didn't he, Michael?
We cannot be sure that everything is correct what any biographer says or Wikipedia tells, but you see that the sheer amount of titles and the sheer amount of his work is unbiblical. Yeah, so therefore you can judge them by their fruits.
There's the fruit. That's right.
And that that goes for every world famous scientist. Yeah. Yeah. They all want to make it big time. They want to make the big money. They want to have the titles. They want to have the Nobel Prize, etc. They want to have that. They want to achieve something in this life, and that's the problem. They do that. They're doing it for themselves. They are not doing it for the public or for the neighbors or for anything. They're doing it for themselves. They want to be the stars. That's why I named the astronomers the stars of science, or you see the star scientists. And this is also this Isaac Newton is the same. He just wanted to have the reputation. He sat in the House of he just sat in the House of Parliament where he was. I think it was the House of Parliament, and he didn't do anything, but he was just there. You see, he wanted to be a member of the elite. He spent his life after formulas and books. And when it comes to Bible, it's also about mathematical things, more or less. He recognized that the Roman Catholic Church is not correct, but you see that's not a big deal. When he was living in the 70th centuries in England, you see that was common knowledge, I think, at this time. But I cannot get a hold on Isaac Newton. I don't like him. I don't hate him. You see that I just see it. I try to see it as it is. He was just a useful tool so that the Jesuits and the Roman Catholic Church had their theory, another theory for the theory of the theory. Yeah. That's the thing.
Yeah, there we go. And just like with the Jesuit oath, Michael, you can preach against the Roman Catholic Church all you want and all the doctrines therein, and have at it, as long as it benefits the church in the end of his life. What does it matter?
Yeah.
And we're not speaking about the Church of Christ, my friends. We're speaking about the Church of Satan, the adversary of Christ. Yeah, that's right.
Have you ever come across a so-called scientist who said, I got the word formula to beat all the hunger in the world?
Of course not.
Would not be promoted if there was any. would not be promoted. You see, you cannot make money out of it. If it
No,
serves
you
the
can't. You
doctrines,
can't become a great man out of that, Michael. No.
yeah.
See, they're all after that title of great man of the earth. And that's all they care about. It's like Bob Dylan, who admitted on camera that, he made a pact with who.
Mm-hmm.
And he laughed about it.
Mm-hmm. But
going to the crossroads.
Also, he's getting older, you see.
Yeah, he's pretty old by now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's amazing that fella's still alive, isn't it? But isn't that how it works? All these wicked men, they live a long, long time, man. Why is that? Like, who was the vice president during the 2001 crisis there? Oh, yeah, Dick Cheney. He's still alive, too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Michael, I don't like these characters too much either. But we have to live.
I really had to pick Newton. You see that he's such a famous guy. You see, I had to pick Newton as an example. I don't go into everybody, but I had to pick Newton. And in the next upcoming sessions, we will go more into matters which matter for many people, and not into characters. Yeah, but you see that all these were it was stated, these were the gods of their time. This was seen as gods. Yeah, the people who can explain the laws of motions of stars. Yeah, these were the gods of the people. They were venerated as gods, worshipped, etc. You are the fellow of the Royal Society. Royal Society is you're part of the royal system. Therefore, you have been knighted. As a real Protestant, you would refuse to be knighted.
Yeah. Right.
But who knows all the things? You see that except people like us who are studying scripture and studying things for 20, 30 years and spending the majority of our life and time to educate others and to spread the word, instead of hanging around with the partying people and having a good time in the Caribbean and just having fun. Yeah, we're doing that, and also takes so much time to research and so much time to read.
Well, and Michael, let's be frank about this. Anyone can be awakened to this reality. All they have to do is have it fly into their face at some moment in their life, and have it just let it shatter you, let it destroy the image you thought you once had that was worth something to you. That's called humility. That's the first step, is humility, Michael. Doesn't matter who you are, who you think you are, and where you are in this world, how much you have, how much you think you have. Doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. I think our Creator doesn't really worry about the person. He worries about the soul. He worries about, obedience to the truth. That's where it comes down. That's where the hammer hits the hardest. Who do you serve? Who do you obey? You're going to serve the mammon, then you're going to pay for it.
Yeah, sure. He served the mammon. He was responsible for the printing coins at this time.
There we go. I mean, the fruit speaks for itself, Michael.
Yeah.
It really does. It really rings true. I mean, talk about alchemy.
Yeah, that was more or less common in this time, but to create something out of nothing, is the same.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, this is really the alchemist's biggest achievement, was to take away the truth. take away our real value that we labor so hard to produce in this life. And yeah, I mean, it's a very serious, very stark reality when you really face it head on and you really look at it square on. And yeah, the spirit of Antichrist is everywhere here, everywhere. So rare do we ever see the truth of Jesus Christ and his gospel being correctly implemented. And I guess that's what we should expect, Michael. I guess that's really the lesson here is we can't expect man to give us a clear representation of what real truth is, because he's just not capable.
If you look up
only God is, yeah.
If you look up The Age of Reason, and it is a work of an activist or political activist, Thomas Paine, and Wikipedia tells you, arguing the philosophical position of deism, it follows in the tradition of 18th century British deism, so that was in the time, a little bit later than when Isaac Newton died, and challenges institutionalized religion and the legitimacy of the Bible. That's the deal. It's part of the Counter-Reformation, that Age of Reason. Age of Enlightenment. Yeah, you see that everybody can play God. Ye shall be as gods. This is our current situation. Everybody is many of the majority of the scientists and people who are big in this world, they are Luciferians because they simply believe they can be as gods because they have so much so-called knowledge. Yeah, but there's also based on the wrong assumptions of Isaac Newton, Copernicus, and etc. So for me, let's call it a quit. I hope you get some valuable information out of it. You are free to go into every subject. I'm just delivering here some kind of food for thought that you can start your research from this or from that point, what is kind of interest for you. But for me, it is very clear. I don't need 57 sessions. I think we have already been mentioned it and clarified it, that all these people who try to make it big, they cannot serve and they cannot love their neighbors as themselves because they simply have no time for that. They have only the time they have to spend for their own research. They have to spend for their own fame, for their own fortune. And that is very unfortunately. Thanks for having me. God bless. And please, Brett, please close it down.
Thank you, Michael. Yeah, it's a long session today, but you know, for good reason. It's a lot of weight. Speaking of gravity,
Yeah.
it's a lot of weight that's on our shoulders, and this is coming to the what can we say? I mean, it's like Ecclesiastes. I think we mentioned in the beginning that, you know, everything happens for a reason. There's a time and a place for it. And certainly, you know, God's creation in this form called earth is not going to last either, because it says right in Scripture that heaven and earth shall pass away. So there's coming a time where it will pass away. And we need to be ready for it. But can Michael and I tell you when that time is precisely? No, we can't, because we all have to work together on this in the body of Christ.
It's not our purpose to do so.
Well, it is to a degree, Michael. I'll wrestle with you on that.
You see that if people say that, okay, it's the 12th of November and this year, I say that, okay,
No.
You see?
No. It's not to get the date precise. It's to know when the time.
You have to be ready, because Christ says, "Behold, I come as a thief." You have to be ready. That means you cannot rely on, oh, I have time enough. There's enough time. I can repent at the last minute, and up to them, I can have fun as long as I will. You see that? I see that as a threat. You see that, to get my point very, very clear. Okay, that's my point.
All right, Michael. Well, thank you for pushing on in the script and getting us to the point where we're at now. I think that we can clearly look at the works of Isaac Newton and know him by his fruits, just like all the other tyrannical things that we see in the present world, in the present situation. And yeah, that's I guess it's no surprise when you get down to the nuts and bolts of it, is it? It's pretty much well, it's all in the details, isn't it? The devil is in the details, as we say.
The devil is in the details. Yeah, I got also a German word. I'm looking it up at the moment.
Oh, interesting.
And at the moment, when we are saying that somebody is making something out of thin air, that is the same with gravity.
Oh, yeah. Yes, right. Thin air. That's a good one.
Yeah, that's yeah. It's like a castle in the
power
air.
Of the air. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a castle in the air. You see, they are building castles in the air.
Ah, castles in the clouds. That's right.
Yeah, okay.
All right, Michael. Well, thank you very much for the session today. And I hope you, dear listener, are doing well. We'll catch up with you next time. And then we go into, I think we got some new science topics coming right around the corner.
And, you know it already.
Yeah. It's going to only get more interesting from here. So thank you for the Isaac Newton lesson today, Michael. It was a long one. By no means an easy one to wrestle with gravity, but it's a fact that God created it all. We don't need to worry about it, right, Michael?
Yeah, sure. It's not meant.
Thanks for that lesson.
It's not meant that you can explain everything, because if you could, you will be God. Yeah.
See, that's the problem. We run right back into the serpent, don't we?
Yeah.
And that's the point. So we'll catch up with you next time. God bless and Maranatha.